Hello everyone. Our today's topic of discussion is on how India is moving towards becoming Atmanirbhar in medical devices sector. Especially during pandemic period, the role of medical device industry has become more prominent in 2020. The way medical device sector has supported with the supply of medical devices such as RT-PCR kits, PPE kits, N95 masks, thermometer, and there are so many other devices. So in order to understand more about the industry, we are going to have a discussion with the Vice President of Sahajanan Medical Technologies, Dr. Rajiv Chhibbar. Dr. Rajiv Chhibbar is a senior corporate affairs policy, communication and media strategist with experience across pharmaceutical, medical devices industry, healthcare, environment, power and development sector. He is also a member of various government committees in area of pharma and medical devices. So let's welcome our guest for today's talk, Dr. Rajiv Chhibbar. Welcome to Win-Win Talk.
Thank you very much, Poonam. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Rajiv, the pandemic has taught us the importance of medical devices, which we were not aware of. So, how medical industry is contributing towards supporting the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of making India Atmanirbhar?
Yeah, so Poonam, first of all, a very warm welcome to all the viewers and listeners. It's a very pertinent question which you've asked, and what has actually now came out of the pandemic is healthcare is now seen as a larger segment which is going to cater to lives, and under that also people have now started to realize that apart from drugs and vaccines, medical devices is an area which needs to have a major focus, because ultimately the entire infrastructural gamut, the entire diagnostic gamut is all with the medical devices. To give you a very practical example, during the pandemic, when you wanted to go for a CT scan, you had to do it with a medical device, which was the CT scanner itself, based on which a doctor would have then prescribed you any kind of medicines or diagnosed you with a COVID-19. So this is something very basic which was happening. You look at more basic stuff, which is like a small thermometer also, unless the thermometer tells you that you have 100 temperature, that's only the time when you would pop in a pill or go to a doctor. So that's the importance of medical devices, and unfortunately they were certainly like unsung heroes which were working towards healthcare but never recognized. But I'm fortunate, it's very fortunate that India recognized medical devices, and the Prime Minister called for a vocal shift towards Atmanirbharta in medical devices. In fact, he's also from the Red Fort itself mentioned that this is now the new sunshine sector, which is going to address the entire gamut of healthcare requirements in the country. So what I'll do is give viewers a gist of what medical devices are. First of all, we all need to understand medical devices is a conglomeration between pharmacy and engineering. So it's a device which ultimately uses pharmacology towards healthcare. So people would actually then understand it more better. And to give you a basic breakdown, medical devices are into various sections. So A, B, C and D are the categories based on which they are high risk, moderate and low risk devices, wherein A is the lowest one, which is the low risk devices, and C and D are the higher ones. So for instance, I from Sahajanan Medical Technologies, we are cardiovascular stent and CBD manufacturers. We come into a C category which is called implants, which goes inside the body. So these are the various categories of medical devices which we have. Now, the Indian medical device market as of 2020 is estimated to be a whopping 77,000 crore plus market, which is almost like a US $11 billion market. It's a huge market, but then compared to pharmaceuticals, it's still the dwarfed brother, which we could really call it as. The market is really expanding, and it's not only because of the pandemic. The market saw an expansion in early 2018-19, and today, if I look at it, the market is almost expanding at a CAGR, which is the parameters of around 35% annually, which is good for any industry. And this pandemic has also grown it better in that sense. So, but unfortunately, a country like India, which comes in the developing zone, we have an overall 75 to 80% import dependency on medical devices, and our exports almost are around 14,000 plus crores, which is approximately around $2.1 billion globally. But if you look at the imports, we are importing almost like over 45,000 crores, which is a huge gap between imports and exports, and that is where Atmanirbharta needs to be addressed. Today, if you look at it, US, Germany, China, Brazil, Iran, the Middle East, Southeast Asian countries, parts of Scandinavian Europe, all these countries are areas where there's an import of medical devices which is happening from India. I mean, India exports there, and we are very fortunate that it's not lesser volumes, but it's larger volumes into exports which we have. Then, if I look at it, very important thing which we really have achieved during the pandemic is the big story or the big concept. The last few months, we've seen huge companies which have now ventured into PPE kits, which have now ventured into masks. Technically, at one point of time, N95 masks and surgical masks till almost like May 2020 were not being manufactured in India. Today, if you look at it, we, like the pharma industry, are becoming the basket of manufacturing and selling it out of India to a huge lot of countries, and that too at a reduced price. Obviously, our labors, our pricing cost is pretty competitive. That's why that's there. Look at ICU ventilators. If you look at consumable devices, if you look at even gloves, eye protection kits. Everything we are now producing. From what we had 15 to 20 companies, domestic companies in India, today we have almost over 200 companies which are producing in that lineage, ranging from 25 crore per annum prospects to almost like 300 crore per annum prospects. So it's a huge leapfrog jump which India has had. So all kind of medical device industries are looking to resize, looking to increase their product ranges itself, exploring what is beyond the normal which we can as a country deliver. So I think really, if we have the domestic industry has really chosen to treat the Prime Minister's clarion call of becoming Atmanirbhar and also making this industry a sunshine industry.
Rajiv, especially in healthcare industry, the affordability and accessibility has always remained a challenge in this industry.
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that these medical devices, they are accessible for the masses?
If you look at the Indian scenario itself, our costings, our labor laws, they make us pretty competitive. Unfortunately, we've got a huge API, which is active pharmaceutical ingredients, which are imported from largely China and the Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam, etc. But despite of that, if you look at it, we've been able to keep it very much affordable. If I give you an example of cardiovascular devices itself, so it's because I'm in the cardiovascular industry.
Yes.
You look at certain price caps which happened back in 2017-18. Stents were regulated earlier. you would have witnessed a scenario where if there is someone who has got a cardiovascular disease at home and required stenting, the cost of a stent would have gone from even 1 lakh rupees to 2.5, 3 lakh rupees. And these were all imported stents which were coming out. Today, the NPPA, the Government of India, through its efforts, and domestic medical device companies like us, we've reduced this to largely not more than 32,000 rupees per stent. And this is what we're talking about, is the highest DES stent, the drug-eluting stent, which is normally used these days for cardiovascular stenting. So you can imagine the entire affordability which is now within the common man's reach. If a stent is around 32,000 bucks, everyone will be able to afford it. Obviously, you'll have to choose a hospital which also becomes affordable. So we are working towards that. Also, the Government of India is looking at how even healthcare procedures could now become affordable. Ayushman Bharat scheme, which the Government of India launched, is a very progressive scheme which has really made affordability to the last mile person. Nowhere in the world have you seen 50 crore people being direct beneficiaries of such a scheme, which provides 5 lakh per annum coverage as an insurance, and a gamut of over 300 to 400 procedures which can be done within a limited cost set at even public, private and remote area facilities. So I think affordability is something which was embedded within the thought when the domestic industry rose, and we have enough examples. Even syringes today, if you look at it, HMD, or popularly, everyone knows them as Discovan, they have made it so affordable that today they are one of the largest importers out of India, and countries like US, Germany, large European countries are getting those syringes made out of the Faridabad factory itself. So affordability has been very good. I think the three challenges which any country has, and especially a developing country like India, we looked at 3 A's, which is awareness, availability and affordability. So knowledge of a disease, we had immense. I mean, we've got doctors who are sitting in CDC also who are of Indian origins and giving us immense knowledge of disease. We've got availability because India has availability of entire infrastructure. We've got a good amount of raw materials also, apart from some APIs which come from. We've got that. We've got screening tools. But through universal health insurance, or these Ayushman Bharat kind of programs or state government programs, affordability has now reached to the last man. So this is something which was very good, and we looked at it holistically. I think India really marched ahead in the last 2 odd years when we looked at scaling up healthcare. We've looked at mapping it to incidence, through diagnosis, to treatment and follow-up, what the Honorable Prime Minister said. So earlier we had low awareness for disease risks, which India was really grappling with. We had a limited focus on preventive care and tendency to ignore symptoms. We still do that. Indians are still pretty much prone to ignoring symptoms and trying to still think that we are hale and hearty. We've stopped doing that. We've started to stop doing that. In fact, the second wave has taught us to stop doing that. There used to be an absence of government screening programs right at the district, tehsil and even village levels. Today, if you look at it, screening has gone down to the last mile village also. UP has done extremely well. Rajasthan, you talk about the northeastern states, the prevalence of COVID in northeastern states was not that much. Obviously, the second wave, because people migrating back to their homes, really bought it. But then technically, if you look at it, it wasn't there. In diagnosis, if you look at it, there was a lack of awareness of disease symptoms among physicians itself. So today, if we look at it, we've got enough physicians who are multi-pronged. They really are looking into not only communicable diseases, but non-communicable diseases also. Earlier, there used to be a lack of availability of small screening tools. I can, take you down 5 years, where remote villages of Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, they did not even have X-rays or ECGs or CT scanners. Today, at least those are available with the advent of chain hospitals going down to tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Those are available. The PHCs, CHCs coming under Ayushman Bharat, it has increased the availability of diagnostics also. Similarly, look at treatment and follow-up guidelines. Today, the Times of India had guidelines on how to treat COVID-19 pediatric kids. So we've gone a long way in terms of creating those guidelines. We've looked at how adequate infrastructure, health infrastructures can be created. We've got so many of these Ayush Kendras which are now catering to people. Chain hospitals and larger hospitals have now aligned themselves to the Ayushman Bharat setup itself and are providing holistic healthcare. Trained manpower today, that was something which was missing. Today, nurses have become, the Nurses Federation would want to have nurses to be more empowered when they look at holistic diagnosis to a particular patient. It's not only the doctor who could be on a clarion call, but a nurse could also do almost like a pseudo management of what a doctor could do. So we've gone highly into that. And the last thing which I think now India is realizing is the penetration of healthcare insurance within each and every household. I think the pandemic has really given insurance-led models more fortified energy to really take care of healthcare. It's a matter of some time that even IRDA, the insurance regulator, will also have some stringent norms in which a large gamut of diseases could be covered. You look at US, you look at parts of Europe, everything is insurance based, and they're doing very well. So I think India is also marching towards that similar model with empathy towards poor and availability and affordability.
Rajiv, you majorly work in the policy outreach and corporate affairs. Could you tell me, are the government policies are actually supporting to the manufacturers on ground? Because these are the facts and figures the industry representative keep talking about, but the on-ground reality is something else. So are the policies really supporting to them?
So, I would like to tell you that over the last 2 odd years, and this was before the pandemic, Ministry of Health, Niti Aayog and Department of Pharmaceuticals, along with Industry and Trade Commerce Ministry, the DPIIT department, they started to look at how medical devices could be a sunshine sector. It was different that by the time fructification came in, COVID also entered, which gave further, pace to the entire policy gamut. But yes, this has been there. So when I talked about India having an import dependency of around 70 to 80% on medical devices, today, if you look at it, it has decreased to almost like 63%. If I look at the cardiovascular segment, why I'm giving you an example of my industry is because I'm pretty much confident to tell you that the cardiovascular industry in India has made the next leapfrog itself. Today, companies like SM, we've captured not only the entire domestic market as being market leaders in Southeast Asia itself, but also are into key reimbursement accounts in the entire European Union, galloping to the number 3 spot itself. And that is because, R&D, that is because affordability and market prices have really been in our favor to take it forward. Now, Government of India looked at this as something like a key element which could rid import dependency over the next couple of years. So they were like huge meetings which happened with industry associations, with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the Niti Aayog, the Department of Pharmaceuticals, the Central Drugs Regulatory Authority. All of them came together, looked at ease of doing business, looked at removing licensing hurdles, looked at one-stop shop places where they could really address the entire things. We had revisiting and implementation of drugs acts itself. We looked at export labeling, the clinical evaluation certifications were pretty much, there. But apart from that, if I could say, opportunities in export were given to Indian companies largely. The entire model where the PPO model, the public procurement model, where MNCs, because of their accreditation, because of their CE accreditation, was getting some kind of precedence, has now become a level playing game. We do not say that MNCs are not welcome in India. They are the people who also provide the right infrastructural as well as the much needed medical surgeons in India. But what we requested was to have a parity game. And today, if you look at it, the public procurement order in larger accounts like the railways, like defense, like Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they are procuring from domestic companies because our R&D and stealth has really been proven to be equivalent to any global MNC. You name them and we have a product which is equivalent to them. So that has been there. Then the Government of India came out with a very ambitious PLI scheme, which is the Production Link Incentive Scheme. And this was very important because it looked at pharmaceuticals and medical devices altogether and how incentives via growing in this particular area could be rolled back to the sector so that India has enough production and procurement at the end of the day. That helped very much. In fact, S&T as a company, we are one of the leading PLI beneficiaries. We've already started to develop Asia's largest cardiovascular stent manufacturing unit and R&D unit at the Medical Devices Park in Telangana with the help of the Government of Telangana as well with the support of Andhra Medical Tech Zone, the Department of Pharmaceuticals, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Science and Technology, the BIRAC department which is under the Science and Technology. So there's been enough which has been done in the last couple of years, and this was prior pandemic. The pandemic struck was different thing, but this was prior pandemic. So increase in investment. Invest India as a part of ministry has been interacting with each and every top Indian manufacturer which are capable MNCs. So like SMT, we call us as Indian MNC because we've got a formidable presence of approximately around 100 countries today, if you look at it. So we are in that league itself. They've been interacting with us. They've been hand-holding us in terms of how conducive policies could be looked at. There's been 100% FDI flow in the medical device sector. That has, given enough impetus in targeting almost like 1,200 technical associations. The Indian industry has wherewithals to. If you look at R&D, we now also, medical industries in India are now also collaborating with universities as well as the National Institute of Pharmaceuticals, which are providing courses on R&D as well as medical devices. Bioengineering medical courses are coming and being developed. So the policy has been there around. Enough government initiatives were there. You look at medical device parks which are now growing leaps and bounds. Each and every state is now committing almost 100 to 200, 300 acres towards medical devices parks. That's a new sign of how medical devices is now going to grow everywhere. Obviously, we cannot have too many medical devices parks because that also will have a soluble impact and a liquidity impact. But the key medical devices park like in Telangana or in Himachal Baddi, or there's like upcoming in Tamil Nadu, Goa, Madhya Pradesh, parts of Northeast, etc. These parks are really going to make India more progressive towards manufacturing, and these are doing good. I mean, what we've done is we have written to the Government of India and the state governments also to not only have medical devices park, but in these medical devices park, we are requesting now support to also have common infrastructure facilities. Like at the medical devices park in Sultanpur, Telangana, we've already written to the Principal Secretary and the Telangana State Industrial Corporation to have common facilities like sterilization or ETO centers, rapid prototyping, which needs to be available. animal and toxicity labs. So for a company like us, we don't have enough animal labs where we can do our R&D, or we can do our basic research work. We're having those. NIPERS, like NIPER Ahmedabad is coming up with a bovine lab, which is, bigger animals like pigs, cows, etc., which will be available for lab work, etc., when we need to look at them. Electromagnetic interference and electromagnetic compatibility labs are coming up in India. Sri Chitra Institute is coming up with huge, medical grade molding and machine tool centers, which are now required. We've got solid waste management and EPP centers which are coming up, because environmental aspects also need to be taken care of. Although industries like the cardiovascular industry, we have very less environmental splurge, but other industries like plastic medical device industries, etc., or those which are into PPE kits, gloves, glasses, they have quite a lot of environmental impact. So we've got centers which are coming up, which are going to look at radiation testings. So all this is going to be something which is really helping medical device industry, and the policies are getting developed on a daily basis. And I'm very fortunate to in fact inform the viewers that Niti Aayog, the Prime Minister's Office, Department of Pharmaceuticals, DPIIT at the Industry and Commerce Ministry, and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare are closely watching all of this, and on a regular basis, and I could say almost, in fact, every 45 days there is planned meetings which are happening on the progress of these policies.
Rajiv, India is emerging as a promising industry in terms of this medical sector. But how are we creating our army? Like, how are we supporting our young generation to get into this industry? What are the courses? What are the academic which is available for the students so that they can make a bright career in this industry?
Again, I mean, it's a very important thing which you've asked, and India is now moving ahead and galloping to have an industry academia linkage in itself. I'm very happy to share with you that now not only IITs, IIMs, or bigger institutes like Sri Chitra or the National Institute of Pharmaceuticals, which are 6 in India presently, are aligning themselves, but there are other private medical institutions or medical colleges which are now providing niche courses into medical devices. So apart from doctoral and postdoctoral students who are joining the medical device industry, there are biomedical engineering courses which are now being offered in various institutes. SMT, my company, is also advising or on the advisory body of NIPER Ahmedabad and NIPER Hyderabad to look at how medical device courses can be mooted in the young generation. But that's one thing apart. The next thing which is going to really come out is new devices or IT enabled medical devices, which are, so all these smart watches, etc., which you look at, is now going to be a next lead generation, not only employment generator, but also next lead generation big data scientific scientific puller in terms of education and academia. So we've got huge amounts of timely data which can be produced out of this. Robotics, new devices, wearables, all this is going to be the next generation medical device linkage, which the young generation will have increased employability. So if you look at it today, there is almost like a 70% fold in employability in the medical device sector itself. Earlier, when we used to be in our mid-20s, we were talking about 2 or 3 professions only: doctor ban jao, lawyer ban jao, engineer ban jao. Today, you look at B Pharma, M Pharma, B Pharma, students also getting into that gamut. We look at IT enabled medical engineering, which is going to have a growth. We would look at even medical device statisticians. When I talked about data, the medical device statisticians or people who have done statistical analysis in medical devices is coming up to be a new public health profession which is really going to gear India in the next leap itself. So I think there is going to be enough next generation wow element product which people will really have.
That is really wonderful. So it means our medical sector is emerging as a promising industry in India. Thank you,
Absolutely,
Rajiv.
absolutely. It is in this, and in fact, for the benefit of the viewers, I'll just tell you that before the outbreak of COVID-19, there were only 20 firms manufacturing 62 lakh PP kits per year. But within 2 to 3 months, last year itself, right from May onwards, the number of manufacturers increased from 140 with an annual capacity of over 25 crores. And then, similarly, the number of Indian firms manufacturing ventilators increased from 8 to 17, mass manufacturers from a whooping 30 to 108 manufacturers, swab manufacturers from 0 to today we've got 12. From 0 to 12, if you look at it, sanitizer manufacturers from almost like we have over 50 to 80 sanitizer manufacturers today. And I'm really happy to tell you that even RT-PCR kits, which are now going overseas, or these basic antigen body testing kits, from 0, we now have over 10 big companies which are manufacturing in this. So this is no less than what progress this particular industry has had. And with the second wave, people have now seen how important it is to have even smaller medical devices like an oxygen concentrator or a bed availability to be at your disposal if it is the requirement. So I think medical device industry for the next 2 to 3 decades has a very bright future, not only in terms of giving India the right economic leverage, but also giving the youth the right employability and giving India the leverage to become the next boom after the IT and pharmacy.
Let me ask you one more question. Rajiv, after the outcome of pandemic, then there was another black fungus. Now it is being said that there will be another third wave which will be harmful for the kids. So what are we prepared for that? Do we have some preparation for that in terms of medical devices?
Yeah, Poonam, so the government of India is already aware that there may be a possibility of a third wave. And looking at that 2.5 weeks back, the Niti Aayog along with the Ministry of Health, Department of Pharmaceuticals called a meeting of all key industry associations in medical devices and asked us to come up with a list of essentials which will be required, especially looking at the fact that this time it will hit hard on children and the possibility of also the older population getting impacted again. So what we've done is we've created a set of 50 essentials which the government of India needs to start procuring well in hand, so that there is not the kind of dearth which was seen in the second wave, or people should not feel the pinch that was felt in the second wave itself. Right from basic things like pulse oximeters to oxygen sources to cylinders to nebulizers to ECG and diagnostic machines to self-inflating rescue bags, ABG machines, glucometers, stethoscopes, IVD stands. In fact, some people were sharing IVD stands, etc. Foldable bedside screens at larger hospitals where critical ICU patients, and this time when it's children, we need to monitor them more stringently because they do not tend to give you the accurate information verbally. So one has to constantly monitor them on a regular basis. You can't expect a toddler or a 6-month-old child to tell you what is happening with him or her. They need to have specialized medical scanners which are available, humidifiers, cannula tubes, sanitizers, goggles. All this is a laundry list of approximately 50 odd devices that we've requested the government of India to start procuring, and I'm happy to tell you that the government of India has already started work on it. It is being closely monitored by the Prime Minister's office as well as Niti Aayog. So this time The government seems to be well prepared infrastructurally also and procurement wise also to handle the third wave.
That is really a good news that we are prepared for this third wave. At the last of this session, would you like to say something with our viewers?
I think I'm really grateful to all of your viewers and listeners to hear me out very patiently. Medical device industry, as I said, is now really poised to take a leapfrog, and I hope I've been able to shed some light so that people could now recognize this dwarfed brother as a larger sector altogether.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for giving us deep insight into the medical device industry.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. At last, stay safe, stay indoor, and don't forget to mask up.